the senior editor of the new book, Sons of Wichita, How the Koch brothers Became America's Most Powerful and Private Dynasty, Daniel Schulman. And Daniel, welcome back to the program.
Thanks so much.
It's great to have you with us. First of all, writing the definitive biography of the Koch brothers, that's no small job, I would think. In fact, I would have been living in fear of PIs and booby traps and sabotage and all kinds of things. Did you have any difficulties writing this?
I mean, it was quite a process. I mean, it was a 3-year job while also doing my job at Mother Jones station since I started.
Wow.
So, and in terms of, there were of course a lot of people. I would make 10 calls to talk to get one person on the line, but
right.
it was a difficult job.
What's the most important thing that Americans need to know about the Sons of Wichita, the Koch brothers?
I think, one of the most fascinating things to me is just how long they've been working to influence the political process through a variety of means. It wasn't just that they arrived on the political scene, with the advent of the Tea Party. Charles Koch especially has been, this has been his legacy over the past 50 years. Really the mainstreaming of free market ideas.
Well, it's what they call free market anyway.
What they call libertarian, anti-regulatory, that type of ideology. And even before that, their father was heavily involved in politics through the John Birch Society. Most people don't know this, but he was one of the leaders of the right-to-work movement in Kansas in the late 1950s, which ended up passing an anti-union measure there back then. So this really goes way back for these guys.
Here's an interesting irony. Fred Koch made his fortune with Joe Stalin and then came to hate Joe Stalin and the Soviet Union because it was a government that had the power of government, which is the power to imprison and to kill, that was corrupted by a small number of men, basically, and Joe Stalin at the top of that list. And now we have a government which is increasingly being corrupted by a small number of men, the Koch brothers. It seems that they have become what their father fought against.
I think it goes beyond the Koch brothers. It's just the decentralization of party power that allows public policy to be driven by really the wealthiest people in the United States. And you have this happening on really both sides of the political aisle. The Kochs have really gotten the most attention for it because, A, they've been quite a formidable foe of the Obama administration on a number of levels, but also the political network they control really rivals the Republican Party in its fundraising prowess, its ability to run ads through any number of groups. It's got a ground game through Americans for Prosperity. It really has all the functions you would want from a political party.
Would it be reasonable or possible to try to suggest to them that they have become what their father opposed? That they have become a part of a small group of people who are controlling the levers of power of government, albeit indirectly?
I think you could suggest that, but I'm pretty sure that they would reject that. They would reject that notion. I don't think they would see things in that way.
Do you think there's anything to that argument?
I could perhaps there's an argument to be made, but it's just not one that I've really thought of before.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Well, in any case, one of first of all, there are 4 Koch brothers. Tell us about them.
Right. So Frederick Koch is the eldest of the Koch brothers. He was never interested in the family business. Really, he was an arts patron. Went to Yale for to get his master's in playwriting, and is in some ways kind of the most elusive and quiet of the Koch brothers. I had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with him at his mansion on the Upper East Side, and he's just a fascinating fellow. Did not inherit his father's politics, politically liberal guy. The next brother is Charles Koch, who very early early on becomes the heir apparent to the Koch to the Koch family company that was run by their father until his death in 1967. And he's the driving force between the Koch brothers as a political dynasty, as a political entity. Next, you have David and Bill Koch, who are fraternal twins. And, David and Bill had a pretty fierce sibling rivalry growing up. They had this caretaker that used to watch over them, and he used to carry boxing gloves around with him because these guys used to beat each other up so fiercely that they were afraid these guys were going to do lasting damage to each other.
Wow.
And this kind of bout kind of carries over later on in life when Bill and Frederick face off with their brothers over control of Koch Industries, and the result of that is Bill Koch being thrown out of the family company, igniting 2 decades of litigation between these brothers.
Right. There's been some suggestion that some people who are obsessed with the acquisition of money beyond any reasonable need are actually suffering from obsessive compulsive disorder, much like people who hoard newspapers. Do you think that that's a possibility here, at least with Charles, or is you made the comment that he just sees this as a way of keeping score?
Yeah, I honestly don't think for Charles Koch, I don't think this is really all about making money for him. It's important, but when you look at Charles Koch, this is someone who's fiercely competitive, like their father,
right,
and who really had something to prove. He inherited, like all the Koch brothers did, a great deal of money. But he also, at the same time, wanted to be his own man. And he's been driven all these years to build Koch Industries. In fact, one of the things that tore this family apart was Charles Koch was plowing all the profits from the company, most of them, back into the company. He wanted to grow this enormous enterprise to show that he had done something with his life and he wasn't just some trust fund kid. So people who know him say, this guy really doesn't care about making another $1 billion. He cares about this company. And obviously you can take that or you can leave it, but I think there's something genuine to that. I do.
Sure. And he's and he's also, he and his brother Bill have been, David.
Yes.
Have been taking the money from these companies and using them for political purposes, which one of their other brothers objected to.
Yep. They, over the years, and this is less so David. I mean, David has certainly spent money on political causes. He is kind of the face of their political operation. But Charles and Richard Fink, who's their sort of political consigliere, their top political advisor, those guys are the really driving force behind it. But
David is more of a philanthropist, and
he's given a huge amount of money to the arts and to medical research and things like.
David who ran for vice president.
David ran for vice president in 1980 on the Libertarian ticket, and it was actually Charles who asked him if he wanted to run. In fact, he asked both of his brothers, and David was the one that said, "Sure, I'll go ahead and do this." And he certainly considered it one of the highlights of his life.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
fascinating. And now they're funding all these efforts to create this libertarian paradise in America. Is there any country that has a model that they would point to and say, we want America to be like that?
That's a really good question. And I'd say whoever's at the top of the sort of economic freedom index, I don't know who it is. It happens
that's us
to be
in
this
Singapore
year.
Right now.
Yeah, we were actually, I think we felt actually like 11 on that list.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of thing that they will go by.
Huh. Fascinating. Book, Sons of Wichita. Hang on just a second.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Sons of Wichita by Daniel Schulman. And check it out. And also it's excerpted in the current issue of Mother Jones. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks, Tom.